I've always been fascinated by growing things. Our journey to farming probably started somewhere between my granddaddy's strawberry patch and my aunt's piglets. As a young mother, I became aware of the industrial food system, and I wanted something more, something better for our family. We started with a few backyard chickens in a suburban neighborhood, but the more we learned, the more we saw in regenerative agriculture a way of life where our family could thrive while we give back. Now, my husband and 4 children and I are the caretakers of 22 acres of pasture and woodland. Here's some of the projects we're working on. We began with a flock of laying hens since we already had experience with chickens. The birds are both pets and livestock to us. Those first chicks were raised in our living room, and since we know how important it is for them to have fresh greens, grits, and even soil, we brought those things into them regularly until they were big enough to move outside. With thoughtful design, we built a shelter on wheels that houses everything they need while moving them daily to fresh ground. This spreads out their manure naturally in small doses that the pasture can easily digest, and it gives us beautifully clean eggs with deep orange yolks. The chickens roam throughout our farm. They eat bugs, grasses, weeds, rodents, grubs, kitchen scraps, and a non-GMO layer feed that we source locally. They help us with clearing ground for garden beds, they turn compost, and they clear underbrush in thick, overgrown areas. They are a pasture sanitization program. They come behind the sheep and turn used bedding into rich compost. In the spring and summer, a hen will occasionally brood her own clutch of eggs, and we get the joy of baby chicks. We also get a lesson in how to raise them naturally. A big part of regenerative farming is the carbon cycle. While chickens do eat grasses and weeds, they don't mow a grassland the way herbivores do. At Hickory Hill, our herbivores are a flock of hair sheep. We started with 30 ewes and a ram from a local farmer, and almost all of them have given birth since we got them in July. We also have a couple of goats in with the sheep. Their primary job on the farm is mowing and brush control. This is where the carbon sequestration magic really happens. Every time the sheep come through an area, they bite off the grasses and weeds and eat the leaves of the brambles and the lower branches of trees. They turn that grass into meat for us, which is tasty and healthy, but they are also participating in a carbon cycle that actually pulls carbon out of the atmosphere and traps it in the earth. Grasses use carbon dioxide and sunlight to grow. When the sheep take a bite, it stimulates new, thicker growth and a natural pruning of the roots. Some of that carbon comes right back out of the sheep in the form of manure, which is deposited on the ground, where it is digested by everything from pill bugs to worms to microbes and literally builds the soil. On our farm, we use solar-powered portable electric fencing to move the sheep to a new paddock every day. This keeps them on fresh pasture and encourages them to eat everything. Weeds are controlled, the pasture is fertilized, and the sheep leave their manure and any parasites behind as they move on to a fresh spot tomorrow. We also raise chickens for meat seasonally at Hickory Hill. Their south-facing houses take full advantage of the sun to warm them. We use heat lamps inside a box, which takes less electricity. They run under it to warm up and back out for food and water. Nipple waterers mean clean water for chicks and no water wasted from chicken poop. When they're old enough and the weather is right, they move into a floorless shelter, a chicken tractor that also has wheels. Every morning and evening, we move that tractor over one spot, which gives them a fresh bed of grass. Their door is open during the day, and they roam far and wide, eating grasses, clovers, and bugs before heading back home to the feeders. These chickens get sunshine, exercise, and an endless salad bar and plenty of attention during their lives. When they reach full size, we harvest them here on the farm. The waste from chicken butchering is not waste at all and becomes compost, which feeds our garden. We're constantly learning and striving to contribute to the health of the earth and our community. We don't use pesticides, our guineas eat ticks, bugs, and seeds and don't require us to buy grain. We don't use herbicides. We use our sheep to eat the weeds. We don't buy fertilizer. Our animals provide that for us. We will continue to look for ways to mimic nature and participate in the renewal of the land that we steward. And we invite you to participate too.